Hello everyone, welcome to the How Good Is. Today we're going to take a look at Sai, a character that many people have been looking forward to for about 1 month or so. I mean, she's basically just been introduced in one of the side stories and then she's here. I'm going to state it right away, there's not too much to talk about with her. If you want the TLDR for this video, if you don't have too much time watching this, if you already have a 4-slot Mitsune, you probably don't need her. Otherwise, let's actually go over her character and see if you maybe actually need her or not. But at least, like I said, if you already have a 4-slot Mitsune, you probably don't even need to watch this video, you probably don't even need her. That said, let's take a look at her. So she has the following. She's a charged gorilla, whoa, fire type. She's a support and she's here to just support a little bit, so her type doesn't really matter. The only thing you really need to keep in mind is that, hey, if you're fighting a really powerful aqua type boss, maybe she dies sometimes. But if we take a quick peek at her stats are actually pretty darn good. For a support, her stats are kind of through the roof. She might have one of the best, if not the best support stats in the entire game. Really great attack, really great HP and defense as well. So yeah, she's rocking that, even though she's a support, that's great. So yeah, even against aqua enemies where she's going to be weaker, she probably will hold on for a little bit. But yeah, since she is just here to support, it doesn't really matter that she's a fire type, because you don't really care for her damage. Like, her damage herself that she does, it's peanuts. Even with this amount of attack, she's just supposed to be an enabler for someone that actually spends the charges on Blast, for example, or Excel, or whatever. But moving on, we do have a personal, of course. It's redraw discs. Oh, she can redraw discs. That's pretty cool. It's a 6-turn cooldown. Most other personals in the game that have redraw have a 7-turn cooldown at fully ascended. This one has 6. However, Irui is a little bit better because their personal is 5 turns as well. So it's decent, but nothing too amazing. The free-to-play, I say free-to-play, the otherwise available Memoria, I think there's one in the Mirrors shop that has redraw discs, and there's a Rico one that has redraw discs. Those are available for every character and aren't just a personal, but those have like cooldowns from somewhere between 10 to 12 turns or something, like a really high cooldown. So those aren't, I mean, if you don't have anything else to use, you'll use them, but if you have the cooldown like 6 or maybe even 5 with Irui, you can actually, if you get some skill quick going, which spoiler she has because she's a support, if you have some skill quick going, then maybe you can even use it twice in a longer battle, because if you think about Kimochi, for example, those last 5 turns, if you can push it down to 5 turns, that would be great. I'm not quite sure, if it's 6 turns, does that mean you always get another turn for Kimochi if you use it on the first turn? Well, that said, you probably won't even want to use this on the first turn. You probably want to use like an Excel draw, charge draw, something like those on the first turn, and keep like shuffles, straight up shuffles for a little bit later. But even so, at least this gives you the chance of using it again on a longer battle. Moving on though, let's talk about what she actually does, because as a support, we are here for the amount of support you can actually bring to the team, and since she's a charged gorilla in the age of charge conservation, she better have charge conservation, and that strategy has charge conservation. So just like Mitsune, she has a connect with charge conservation on it, and she also gives damage up. The damage up is fine if you are looking for a later turn connect, so that's basically 2 ways you can use this connect. Of course, you can use this while still building up charges if you have a bad turn. Let's say, for example, you want to build up charges, you add 10 charges, and you just didn't draw some charge discs. You didn't draw 3 charge discs. Maybe you do then the redraw discs. Maybe you get really unlucky and you still don't have 3 charge discs. But if you have a connect loaded up, you can then use the charge conservation to not have to miss out on those charges, and so you can keep charging up and basically get a free turn for that. But later on in the battle, when you already have those charges, you can then use this connect to, of course, smack down some damage. If you don't have a Marukami Senpai, for example, and you don't have Marukami Senpai's buff from Magi and Doppel to have charge conservation on everyone, or you let it time out on purpose, you can have an additional turn of charge conservation on one character with this. So later in the battle, you can use this just for DPS, of course, for loading up Magia, while early in the battle, this connect can still be used to keep your charges ready. So overall, it's still a rather versatile connect that can be used in many different situations. And how would you go about, though, loading up her connect in the very early turns? We'll get to that in a second. Moving on though, we see a Magia and a Doppel that sadly don't give charge conservation to not even herself, which is kind of sad. It would be great if it gave charge activation to someone, even if it was just some random target. But yeah, what else does it do though? It gives damage up to all allies, which lasts for 3 turns on the Magia, and on the Doppel, it's also 3 turns. I feel like they just sometimes decide on a whim if it's gonna be longer on Doppels or not. Although I guess on limited characters usually have stronger and longer effects on their Doppels, while unlimited, not so much. Although this one still at least has something new on Doppel, which is that on Doppel you also have the charge up for everyone, which is a nice buff to have on top of that if you're playing a charged team, which if you are playing this character, you must play a charged team. You should not play this character outside of a charged team. Like surely you can do that, but you shouldn't, as in there's just other characters that do better in blast teams, in excel teams, and other types of teams. You should just have her stick to charge teams where she does the best amount of stuff. Outside of charge teams, she won't do as much as some other characters would. So yeah, since you're playing on a charge team, it would be nice to have some charge up in there, that's fine. Together with the damage up, this is actually a decent support Doppel. You definitely always want to Doppel with her. I mean, sure, the damage up doesn't really go up at all, because it's 30% both times with the scaling. But you definitely want that charge up. You definitely want that charge up. Even if no matter if you're using them for Excel discs or for blast discs, but especially for blast discs, you want to have that charge up. So get on that, get that Doppel. Now the other thing that's on here is charged attack received damage up, which sounds... Is that even a sentence or a phrase, or is that even something that makes sense in the English language? I don't even know. Can we just call it charge vulnerability? Can we call it that? Like, I know that I'm not gonna go in here and change this right here and change the wiki page. I'm not gonna change the wiki page or campaign for changing the wiki page, because what the wiki page does is it just reflects the Japanese name. The developers just need to call this thing something different, because charged attack received damage up is such a crazy name, but just call it like charge vulnerability, because that's what it does. It makes enemies vulnerable to charge attacks, right? Not charge discs themselves, but charge attacks, like the Excel discs or blast discs that are being used while they have charge discs. Those are charge attacks, not charge discs, but charge attacks, like Excel Blast. That's right here. And I said something about this status on, I think it was Mitsune who also had this. And I think Madoka Senpai also has this on her active. Actually, it says right here. Yep, I was right. It was exactly those 2 characters that have it. I said that this is probably just gonna be like a charge up on your character, but as a debuff on the enemy. So it's basically going to be the same as if your character had, like I said, for example, the enemy had 10% charge vulnerability. Wouldn't that be the same thing as your character having 10% charge up? And that's the way that I thought it would work. But there has been some investigation, some sciencing, some experimenting, and we found out that this is actually not an additive damage bonus, which is the way I explained it, but it's a multiplicative damage bonus. It multiplies damage instead of adding to it. What this means is that this is a lot more powerful than I was giving it credit for. So instead of saying like, okay, you have your damage, you have damage modifier pool, we're just gonna add a little bit more to it, we're gonna multiply it instead. Now, even though that's pretty darn powerful to have a multiplicative effect at the end of everything, the downside of all of this, which by the way, it's the same with elemental defense down. Like for example, when you have enemies that say like dark defense down, that is also a multiplicative effect, also something that I was wrong about, which wasn't really my fault, we just didn't know at the time. But even though multiplicative effects like that are really powerful, you get almost nothing of it. Almost nothing. Which sucks. Like, it is pretty powerful effect if you had more than 11% of it, but sure, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing, and it has the potential to be really powerful if you have a bunch of this, but at only 11% or 9% on the Magia, that's not a whole lot. That's almost nothing. So sadly, even though the effect is a lot more powerful than I originally gave it credit for, it's just too little of it. It needs to be more of this, and I hope we see more of this in the future than just such low numbers. Moving on with the Spirit Huntsman. Spirit Huntsman is incredibly boring. You've got some skill quicken before because she's a support. She starts the battle on 10% MP up, which is great. She gets another MP gain up, cool. Charge combo up +3. Yeah, if you have an SSR, like a natural 4-star charge use character, you would hope at least for +2, most cases +3 on this, so it's here, that's good. Damage cut, sure, some charges up and stuff, cool. Nothing too special though. Nothing really too special. Like the MP gauge increase is like the most cool part. The charge combo, cool, we take those. And now here comes the important bit though. Her active is Charge Draw on a 5-turn cooldown. Now I said earlier, well, wouldn't it be cool in the early stages of the game while you're still building charge if you can use her connect to sort of step around bad RNG. Now, of course, you need to actually get her connect first, and the charge draw could actually be a way of getting to her connect rather early. Let's say, for example, you play her on a 2-man team with Sister Momoko and her with Sai. Then, of course, there's a 50-50 chance that on turn 1 you don't even get her connect, right? Maybe you get even really bad luck and you draw 3 blasts or whatever, which is possible with that sort of team up. That sucks, right? But if you charge draw, you have a total of 5 charge discs, 3 from Sai, 2 from Sister Momoko. That's a guaranteed Puella charge combo, right? That's great. Now you can actually, if you don't want the Puella charge combo and you feel really confident, what you can even do is you can have one of those discs come from Sister Momoko to get Sister Momoko's charge combo charge count up a bonus as well, which, let me check how strong it actually is +2. So you can get +2 if one of those discs is set, you slot in Momoko's discs, but of course you don't get the connect with that way. And by using the charge draw, that just means you can just in general sort of manipulate yourself into getting connects with her off really easily, getting a Puella combo really easily. Something that I've been doing a lot with Mikage. Mikage has Exile Draw Personal that I've been using all the time, and really rather often it happens that when I use this on turn 1, even on a team that has many Excel discs, it actually happens rather often that I manage to get Mikage's like actual Excel combo from this, like full Puella Excel combo, which is really awesome because then I can do a turn 2 connect with her really good. So charge draw on right here, either as a personal or as a SE active is pretty good, and it's nice to having it here. So that's basically all about Sai. So overall, she basically does the same thing that Mitsune does, is she's someone who builds up charges while keeping the charges with charge conservation. You put her on the team together with someone that spends those charges, like Sister Momoko, who can give herself charge conservation as well for added bonus and also return back the charge conservation. You would have maybe Sister Momoko alongside Marukami Senpai as well, so you get some Magia, some doubles in there as well, some more charge conservation, so you have more space of keeping your charges. So maybe a team like Sai, Marukami Senpai, and Sister Momoko would work really well, probably. And that's of course some space for playing around that you can do depending on what sort of quests you do. Maybe if it's a shorter quest where you don't really care for going too long, you instead of the Marukami Senpai, you have a final tard who has blast draw, something like that. So yeah, you can play around a bit, but if you want to create a lot of charges really fast, Sai is a really good choice for that. Currently the top choice alongside Mitsune, but the thing is, and why I said that at the very beginning of this entire video, you only need one of the two. You only need one big charge builder on your team. I mean, sure, you can play with more, but it usually becomes less good doing that. Because when you actually have your charge, when you are actually at 20 charges, you don't want to ever use a charge disc ever again. They're pointless and useless after you have 20 charges. So if you have too many charge builders, you might have turns where you draw only charges and you're thinking to yourself, I have 20 charges, I have charge conservation, I want to blast, and I only have charge discs, and that really sucks. So you only really need one charge builder on your team with charge draw, with redraw, stuff like that, and you can pick either Sai or Mitsune. They do mostly the same. I think Mitsune might be a little bit more aggressive for the team, but Sai herself is more aggressive with more attack. She has the built-in charge draw and low cooldown as an active instead of as a personal. She gives damage up. I don't remember if Mitsune gives damage up. She gives charged attack damage received up, which I think Mitsune also does. So yeah, there's some overlap between the two, but I think mostly they're kind of interchangeable. If you already have a Vosa Mitsune and you really want to go for a charge team, you probably don't need Sai. But if you don't have Mitsune at all and you really want to build a high-powered charge conservation team, you probably should get Sai, right? That said, her Memoria. Oh, She has Memoria on her gacha as well. Okay, I guess we'll have to check those out as well. Okay, let's do this quick. This one was first rather interesting because people were like, hey, if this cooldown is low enough, you could maybe do some Valentine's Nagisa shenanigans in Mirrors with this. But the thing is, I think in Mirrors this is still a 4-turn cooldown, not a 3-turn cooldown. If this is a 3-turn cooldown in Mirrors, Valentine's Nagisa can actually do some shenanigans with this by using Skill Quicken on the 2nd turn as well to get a turn 3 Memoria that has like longer than 6-turn cooldown or something like that. For the most part, though, it's just memes and not really actually that interesting. And attack down against just one enemy. I mean, if it's a boss, cool. If it's anything but a high attack boss, it's kind of pointless. So overall, not that amazing. Not that amazing. Maybe there's some situations where this might be interesting, but for the most part, the actual output of this is not going to be that great. Speaking about that, here's another thing: blast damage up and charge attack damage up. I mean, it's fine if you're a rather fresh account and you're building something like a Sister Momoko, who you somehow have like on a fresh account. Sure, this would be something that's interesting on her, but still overall not that amazing. There's many better choices for a blaster on a charge team. Just the 4-star Tsuruno Memoria that gives like 35% charge blast up or whatever is already better on a pure blaster on a charge team, so use that one instead. And also the last thing that I'm going to say about Sai, I know during the news, I was like, hey, maybe it's possible that she's actually like a split personality or something. No, not at all. That was all just misdirection. It's actually just she's just a very, very normal person, kind of. So yeah, that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.